Good afternoon, cadets. Today I'll be taking up the poetic devices used in various lessons and poems. Poetic devices, they add beauty to the prose and poem. That is why we use poetic devices in prose and poem. So poetic devices, they are a form of literary device used in poetry, and they are what you call adding beauty to the poem, rhythm, and it gives more meaning to the poem. The readers may understand the poetry better because of the language of the poem becomes very attractive, and we can say something like it is a mood maker, so that everybody cannot enjoy literature. So these things, they add beauty, rhythm, and enhances the mood of the reader and the poet. That is why we have poetic devices. So in the first term, we have covered 5 poems. So there are various poetic devices used. Let's cover one by one. The road not taken. So basically, road not taken. The road in the poem is a metaphor. When we make a direct comparison of anything with, that is called a metaphor, means the road is not used by Robert Frost as a road. He means choices. So for choices, he has used the word road. So it is a metaphor. The poem is written by Robert Frost and published in 1961 as the first poem in the collection Mountain Interval, and it has a rhyming scheme ABAAB. It's an ambiguous poem that allows the readers to think about choices. So, metaphor. There are many metaphor in the poem, like road. Road is a metaphor because it does not refer to the regular road. It is a comparison used for choices. Then the fork. Fork is the place where we come, and there are many directions in which we go. It is not the fork with which we use to eat on the table, because the fork has various diversions. While eating also, we find that those pointed, there are 3 4 pointed ends of the fork. In the same way, the fork is also a metaphor. The road in the poem is the metaphor of life, while the fork on the road metaphorically represents the choices we make to determine the courses of our lives. So, road is like a life, and life, we have a lot of choices. Road, you should understand, it is not the road which you walk on. These metaphors used in this poem emphasize the importance of different decisions we make in different situations and their impact on our lives. So we come to, every time we come on a road. When you were in fifth class, you came to a road whether to continue in the same school or whether to take the exam of a Sainik school and join Sainik school. That was the road you took. And then you finally took the decision that I am going to Sainik school, Bijapur. So that is what is Robert Frost's reference. Imagery is very easy and a very beautiful thing. Imagery is when the poet says the winds and the rain has become violent. So your sense organs can immediately imagine, and all your 5 sense organs can feel it. Oh, the wind has become violent means it must be very frightening. So whatever appeals to your 5 sense organs, You, I feel you know the five sense organs: eyes, nose, yes, the taste part, the skin. So, smelling part. If I say, oh, the jalebi is made by the sweet maker, you will feel the mouth watering in case you are it means you love jalebis. So whatever appeals to your five sense organs, that is called imagery. Imagery is used to make the readers feel things through their five senses. The poet has used images of the sense of sight, such as leaves, yellow roads. So in the poem Road Not Taken, the road is covered with leaves in the morning. So you can imagine, yeah, the leaves which are dry and withered, the road it must be lying. These images help readers to actually perceive or see things they are reading. The image of the road helps the readers to visualize the road, providing a navigation route to the traveler. So they can imagine the route which they are describing. First road was very beautiful, everybody has traveled on it, so it looks more used. Second road is a challenging road, a spiritual road, more people are not walking on that. All this the poet has made you imagine, so this is called a imagery. Simile. Simile is like metaphor, but in metaphor, it is a direct comparison, and in simile, we use words like, as, like, like, and as. So, if words like and as are used and a comparison is made, it is a simile. And when we make a direct comparison, we it is a metaphor. If I say life is like a road, then it is a simile. Life is a road where we have to take many decisions. So the second sentence is a metaphor. Life is a road. I have directly compared without using the words like and as. When I say life is like a fork, life is like a road, then like and as has been used. Simile. A simile is a device used to compare things with familiar things to let the readers know it easily. There is one simile used in the second stanza, such as just as fair. So, as has been used. It shows how the poet has linked the road less taken to the easy way through life. The child's face is like a red rose, if I say. So the innocent child's face is like a red rose. So I have compared the child's face to red rose. It is a simile. Then assonance and consonance. Assonance is a repetition of vowels such as the sound A, O in quick succession in though as far that the passing and in somewhere ages and ages hence. So the repetition of vowels you know, A, E, I, O, U, vowel sounds, that is assonance. And consonance, as it is mentioned, it is the repetition of the consonant sounds. Two roads diverging in a yellow wood. T, the sound is though, as though passing there. So in the first one, the sound is A, O, that is vowels. So it is assonance. In the second one, T. You know, there are 21 consonant sounds and 5 vowels. That makes 26 alphabets of English. So if it is a vowel sound, then it is assonance. And if it is a consonant sound, then it is a consonant. Parallelism and personification. Parallelism is a use of source of words, phrases, or sentences that have similar grammatical forms. Frost has used parallelism in the poems such as. So the example is a road. He has used the parallelism of road and life, a man's life. Roads also, any road, any smooth road, but at one point of the time, there is a choice given whether you will take your vehicle or walk towards left or you will walk towards the right. In the same way, life also offers simple things, simple day to day things. Today my chappal is broken. Instantly the choice is whether I'll go to a local market, purchase an inferior quality. Oh, it's only slippers, bathroom slippers, I don't require regularly. Or will I go for a Bata shop and buy it? So the simplest thing also in life has choices. So that is how the parallelism has been done by Robert Frost. Then there is personification. Personification is a figure of speech in which the non-living things, they will behave or act like living objects. For example, it's a very silly example to give, but I'm taking a class on laptop, and if the laptop says, "Okay, before June, this lady did not use this laptop so much, occasional use." So that is not expected of a laptop to speak. But if it speaks, then what you call it has the human qualities, a quality of a human being, that is speaking. The chair I am sitting on, because I have to take 3 4 periods, and it feels the burden of my weight, then it is a personification because it will speak. So this is called where the non-living thing assumes the qualities of a living thing. Robert Frost has personified the road in the third line. Hence, it is stated because it is grassy and wanted wear. Wear is a word we use for wearing clothes. But here, Robert Frost has not used wear for wearing clothes. It means that the road is feeling that I am also a road, though I am a second road, but why people are not walking on me? If imagination and all these qualities is there in a road, definitely it has a quality of a living thing. So Robert Frost says it is grassy and it wanted wear. So it also wants somebody to walk on it. As if the road is human and that it wants to wear.
अलग रईस है ए,
I'm sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler, long stood and looked down once as far as I could. So in life, we may take the best decision, but we will feel what was there in the other thing. We always feel like if two people are in a party, the other person's plate will always look, hey, you bought this also. I did not get. Where was it laid out? It is like that. So here the poet is sorry he could not travel on both the road. He has made a choice. He chose the second road. He has become successful, but he feels I could not travel on the second road. Wind. Now in wind we have some poetic devices. Personification. So I have already told you in wind, the whole poem is a personification where the wind is has become so powerful that everybody is requesting, don't throw away my things, please behave gently, as if we are telling some powerful person. Wind has been personified. Then there is repetition. The word crumbling has been repeated. When a word is repeated in the poem, then it is repetition. Alliteration. So, alliteration is a figure of speech in which the first alphabet, that is W of wind and W of winnows, if they are adjacent to each other and there is a repetition of this, then it is called alliteration. Symbolism means wind is a symbol. It refers to the challenges and adversities and obstacles of life. Rain on the roof. So we have onomatopoeia. So onomatopoeia means the use of sound words. Like if I say the wind is making different type of sounds, then it is onomatopoeia. The dog is barking, so that bhav bhav sound which the dog is producing, that is onomatopoeia. Use of sounds. Ouch, oh, wow, all these type of sounds when we make, and it has a dramatic effect, that is onomatopoeia. Then alliteration comes once again because it is a new one. You can once again see the repetition of the consonant sound in two or more consecutive words. Humid and hover, H and H is repeating, or starry sphere, S is repeating. That is called alliteration. The repetition of the consonant sounds in continuation, that you have to understand. In continuation, it is there, then it is alliteration. Onomatopoeia, that is the use of sound words which creates dramatic effect, and this one is the repetition of consonant sounds. The lake is full of Innisfree. Yeah, so the rhyme scheme of the poem is determined by the words that at the end of the each line of the poem. So this particular poem, the rhyme scheme is ABAB. Alliteration, once again, the repetition of consonant sound in two or more closely placed words. That you have to always remember. It should be closely placed words. Repetition is I will rise and go now is repeated in stanza 1 and 3. Personification, the morning has been personified. If you remember the poem where the poet has said that the morning is like a lady opening her veil. Veil is that parda. So the morning has been compared to a lady who is revealing her veil. That is why it is a personification and metaphor, because the clouds are compared to the veil. And it was a direct comparison without the use of words like and as. Now comes the poem The Legend of Northland. So in this we have simile, alliteration, dialogue, repetition, apostrophe. Apostrophe, there should be no H. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So, for your better understanding of the rhyme scheme, here is a stanza from the poem The Lake Isle of Innisfree. I will rise and go now and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for honey bee, and live alone in the bee loud glade. So, how do we find rhyme scheme? Innisfree, honeybee. They are rhyming with each other. Maid, glade. They are rhyming with each other. So, to uh, first line we write A, but maid is not rhyming with Innisfree. So we give it B. Then again B, honeybee is rhyming with Innisfree. So we write A. And then finally glade rhymes with maid, so we write B. So the rhyme scheme of the poem is, means the stanza is AB AB. Now one more thing is that this 9 bees rose, if it had been the second line and this a small cabin would have been third line, then the rhyme scheme of the poem will be AABB. Edits. Understand it properly. Innisfree is the first line, honeybee is the third in the third line. So it is A B. But in case the third line had been second line and the second line had been third line, so Innisfree and honeybee they will be in the first and second one. So it will be AABB. So this is how we determine the rhyme scheme of a poem that you have to understand.